What is an odd behavior of yours you think only you do? Sometimes when I get bored, I explain modern things to Benjamin Franklin, music I listen to, or how my phone works, etc. Sometimes I go even further back and explain it to Socrates or a caveman. Sometimes it's philosophical. Sometimes it's just stupid. I don't know why I do it, but it's very entertaining. I rub the tip of my nose and after a while it starts to feel really nice and I get a mild sensation. Not unlike an orgasmus. It kinda weird, but I like to rub my feet against each other under the covers. It calms me down and helps me fall asleep. When a page is taking a long time to load on my laptop, I rotate my index finger clockwise and it makes me feel like it makes the page load faster. I have noticed I often sniff when I enter a room so I don't scare people by just talking out of nowhere. I make sure to make a splash noise when I pee to make sure I'm not sleeping and pissing the bed. Shake my butt when I'm lying in bed. When I'm watching a movie or TV series and something bad happens to a character I really like, I can't handle him being sad or distraught, so I stop watching it. It's a real problem. I have to force myself to continue, because if I wouldn't watch anything until the end. It's been like this since I was a kid. Can say in all honesty, I adopted the Monk touch. Monk, the old TV series about the unique detective, whereby I'll touch every pole or stop sign I pass even if just for a second. Don't know when it started, but it's become almost subconscious autonomy at this point over many years and odd looks. As to why, I have no idea. Something about touching something physical that's permanent and serving a purpose, I guess. Well, guess I'm not so odd after all. Hello fellow tappers. The Monk intro for nostalgia's sake. I make weird noises and gestures when I think no one else is home. I hear noises in multiples of 8. Not that I hear any sound 8 times, but if there's a noise that repeats a bunch of times, I hear it in my head again and count it, using 8s. I tap every time a dashed line goes past the car. It's like a perpetual game of Guitar Hero. After I stopped chewing on my nails, I needed a new thing for when I'm nervous. Preferably something discreet. So I started pressing my nails into the side of my knuckles and then kind of pressing the hurting spot. Somehow this pain feels extremely relaxing for me. Also, it helps me think when I can't concentrate. Talking to myself in gibberish when I'm doing something as though I were explaining what I'm doing. I blow on my ice cream to cool it off. I'm not really sure. I wasn't even aware I was doing something weird until my GF noticed and said, "You know that's not hot, right?" Single quote. Sometimes I spell a word in my head over and over until it seems like nonsense. Habit that I've had since childhood. I play with my ears, especially when they're cold. I fold them and scrunch them and can fit them into the ear canal until they unfold and pop back into form as ear. Sometimes I wonder if there's actually people who can see into your mind. So I start thinking about really interesting things, so if there is, they won't think I'm boring. Using random number generator apps to dictate how I set my daily to-do lists. I wiggle my right foot really fast when I'm falling asleep. Never be lonely anymore. I have found my sisters and brothers. Each day when I come home from work, I say to my cat Bruce Wayne, "Hi, honey, I'm home. Did you do your taxes?" "Ah, you did your taxes." Quote. In my head, if my cat were a person, he'd be a tax accountant or something. Just before I'm about to write, sometimes I'll do this little circle thing in the air above the paper, like I'm revving the pen up before I use it. Sometimes when I'm listening to music, I play a game where I tap my fingers to the syllables. If the sentence ends at the pinky or the thumb, I win. If not, I must continue until it ends up at one of them is here. I eat fried chicken and other greasy foods while wearing latex gloves. This applies only to home. My alarm is set to 7 a.m. I can't remember when I last heard it go off, because I wake up at around 6:15, and spend some time on my phone, before unsetting my alarm and getting in the shower before 7 a.m. Whenever someone coughs, I have the urge to cough as well. I make a valley out of pillows and blankets and sleep in the middle so I can koala hug something while laying on either side. You first. I walk fast when it's a crowded place. I use hand gestures whenever another person gets in my way to tell them where I will go. Like I point to the left and they automatically move to the right without any awkwardness. It works more often than I expected. People tend to follow such unexpected gestures unconsciously. I have hyperhidrosis, fancy word for sweating a lot, and my t-shirts are constantly sticking to my armpits. To unstick them, I just lift my elbows up and down a time or 3. Basically, I flap my arms like a chicken. Most of the time, I don't even realize I'm doing it. Imagine having a conversation with someone you have never met and they randomly start flapping like a chicken out of the blue and act like nothing just happened with no explanation. Edit. Now I know the meaning of Ripinbox. I don't have time to read through all of your comments today. But for everyone giving advice and suggestions, thank you. Also, thanks for the awards. If I accidentally hit my head or something when I was little, I'd pretend to be knocked out for at least 10 minutes on the floor and then slowly get up when I'd realize nobody was going to indulge my dramatic ass. I'll occasionally reread sections of a book where nothing much happens, but the characters are just chilling. It's almost like visiting friends. I get weird compulsions that I need to touch between my pinky fingers or touch my armpit. It's more like a tickling sensation that builds until I have to relieve it by touching it. I have no idea what causes this, and I haven't heard of anyone else that has to do this. Maybe some form of mild OCD? I throw up gang signs at my dog. Don't know why it started, but I get a laugh out of it and my dog just likes the attention. I have to blink an even number of times, and most of the time that's not enough. I have to stop what I'm doing to keep on blinking until my mind is pleased with the right amount of even times I've blinked. When I'm at home, I eat the kernel-y bits of the popcorn first and save the soft parts for the end. I don't know where this came from, but I can't seem to stop. I spin in circles and think about things. But as an activity, I've spent an hour plus just spinning and thinking about things that don't matter on multiple occasions. See how far ahead I can walk with my eyes closed before I get freaked out and have to open them. Edit. Whoa. Thanks for the attention and the gold and silver. Walk safe. Edit. 2 quick shout out to the 2 books that started me off with this behavior and may interest people with similar habits: Day of the Triffids and The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. When my girlfriend gets home, I often pretend to be dead. She then feigns shock and horror until I ultimately succumb to a fit of laughter. I try and be as inventive as possible with positioning and stuff, and I'm well aware that I could become the man who cried wolf one day. I say things to myself to break a train on thought, like, I love you, or I am sorry, or you got this, just to keep myself going on the right path. Probably be weird if someone walked in on me trying to motivate myself out loud. I have conversations with myself out loud, and I stare intently at one spot when I am thinking. I also talk with inanimate objects, and I catch myself cocking my head to the side like a dog when I'm confused. Of note, they don't talk back to me. I just have one-sided conversations with the objects. Kind of like how Archer talks to Krieger in Krieger's first few appearances before they found a voice actor for him this year. I imagine myself doing absolutely stupid things at work, as a way to curb my boredom this year. I discreetly wave my right hand when I'm in front of sliding doors like a Jedi Knight to open them this year. Every time I bend over to pick something up, I pretend I just unknowingly dodged a bullet from some faraway sniper trying to take me out. When I'm alone, sometimes I will shriek and beg for my life under my breath as if I am being murdered in order to give myself a cheap chuckle. So I'll be in the bathroom going, "No God, don't let this happen. Don't let this happen. He's stabbing me. I don't want it to die. Our Father who art in heaven." And just laugh my ass off. Edit. Woke up to a 91 next to my name and immediately thought, what did I do? Also, thank you for gold. I give objects itches, aka I scratch it for them because they look itchy. Sometimes I take a huge intake of breath, as if I've been stuck underwater for longer than I'm comfortable and can finally breathe again. It scares the crap out of my friends as I'm usually quiet for several minutes and then suddenly I'm practically screaming. I just tell people that I forgot to breathe. I rarely realize I've done it too. It just happens. I also randomly do one hiccup, sometimes mid-sentence, and I'll continue my statement without letting the hiccup distract me. Constantly. Realistically, I do this hourly. Relive specific moments from my past. I can imagine a conversation that I had 8 years ago and react physically in the present by saying the words I would have said then, or move my body in the same way as I do in the memory. Every time I shift into neutral, I wiggle the stick back and forth a bit as a sanity check. In my head, I make a plan to rob any business I enter. I make note of security, cameras, employees. I think about what part of town I'm in and try to estimate what the police response time would be, and possible escape routes and so on. I'd never do it, of course. It's just a mental exercise. I made the mistake of telling my wife about it, and now when we go out she notices and tracks my eyes and says, "Stop that. You're so weird." Quote, "Lol." I save the straw wrapper from every restaurant I go to and make little origami cranes out of it. I started 6 years ago and have nearly 9,000 cranes. When at the library or bookstore, I sometime open a book one know I will read at some point, but not right now, and read a random line at a random page. Then, maybe years later, I will read the book, and when I get to that line that I have forgotten all about, and get the most powerful feeling of déjà vu, I will remember what the world felt like, smelled like, the sensations and feelings I had while reading that line. It's like little gifts of memories to future me floating around in various books. I mimic bird whistles.